All right, well, welcome everyone to Spreadsheets, the Basics. It's a webinar that ILF is offering to you with conjunction of Indiana University IT training. We want to thank everyone for being on here and your support of ILF as a member, especially during this year as things have shifted so much. Supporting us as we try to find a different method to offer you some of the regional conference content. I do want to let you know that this is going to be recorded. So if you have staff who was not able to join today, it will be available to them when this is over. Also, you're welcome. Please put your questions in the chat. We have our wonderful staff over here on the right to help answer questions, and we will be interrupting them as well if there's a question that will benefit everybody. And I do want to let you know also that you will receive an LEU certificate for this, and we will follow up tomorrow for that. Next slide. Okay, perfect. So we're gonna welcome Indiana University IT training. April is going to be doing our presentation, and we have Jen and Jason on the hook to help answer those questions. So this group was presenting at all of our regional conferences and unfortunately wasn't able to do that because of COVID-19. But if all goes as planned, we hope that you will see them at our youth services and annual conferences later this year as presenters and exhibitors as well. Okay, so let me stop sharing my screen and I will turn it over to April.
All right, good afternoon. Am I coming through okay? Okay, great. As Megan said, we work for IT training at IU. I am going to be instructing today, so you'll hear my voice and see me, I guess, unless you close my picture from the corner of your screen. Jason and Jen are here as what we refer to as assistants. They will be monitoring the chat. And if you have questions, you put it in the chat and they will interrupt me as needed, and that's okay. They are used to interrupting me. I am used to being interrupted by them, so that's how we work. We have an exercise file today. We're going to be working in Google Sheets. We discussed this, Megan and I did at the beginning of planning for this, and we thought Google Sheets may be more readily available to people who are working at home and might not have access to Microsoft Excel at home. But everything I'm going to show you today can easily be transferred to Microsoft Excel if that is the program that you use. There are some minor differences about how you go about finding things in Excel versus Sheets, but overall, everything that can be done in one can be done in the other. So we are working in Sheets today. We are going to, I'm going to be working in a file. I will put that in, let me put it in chat here because it's going to go to panelists and attendees, and I think, yes. That is the link for the file that we're going to be using today. Now you can copy that onto your machine and have it open on your machine and be flipping through it and trying some of this stuff as I speak, as I'm going through it on mine. But if you're more comfortable and you just want to watch, that is fine as well. As Megan said, this is going to be recorded. So, you know, you have that file, and if you want to just listen to me talk today and see what I'm doing, and then you can go back with that file and watch the recording and try the steps on your own later. However you are most comfortable working today. So I'm going to click on that link in the chat. Oh, I guess I need to share my screen first, don't I? Whoops, that's not it. Share screen. What do I want to share? I want to share this. When I click on that link in the chat, it brings me to this to make a copy of this spreadsheet. So I'm going to click that to make the copy. And I have here my spreadsheet in Google Sheets. I've got to move my windows around because I'm looking at myself talk and I don't love that. All right, so what we have here to start is a very simple worksheet. To begin with, this is a workbook. Workbook is the overarching file in Sheets or in Excel. Because I copied this, it is named by default copy of ILF Spreadsheets, the basics. This workbook is made up of 2 worksheets. One is called Fundraiser Sales. It's down here at the bottom. The other is called Summer Reading. I have a very little bit of public library experience, and so I tried to make some of these examples a tiny bit relevant. But it's been so long since I worked in the public libraries, they may not be anymore, but we'll see. Anyway, the workbook, ILF Spreadsheets, the basics, is made up of 2 worksheets. The worksheets are down here. You can have as many worksheets as your computer can handle, but you know, if you get too many, it becomes more confusing and less helpful, maybe, than if you have just a few per workbook. But you can have lots of different worksheets in a workbook. We are starting today with this fundraiser sales worksheet. And I'm going to start out, we've taught a lot of Excel at IT training, and we have learned that whenever we teach Excel, we start with the basics, because that makes sure that everybody that's attending one of our workshops starts with the same vocabulary and the same idea of how to move around in a worksheet or a workbook. So we always start that way. So what I'm going to do for the next few minutes may seem overly basic to you. If it does, I apologize for that, but we'll get through it quickly and on to some other stuff. A worksheet, whether you're working in Google Sheets or Microsoft Excel, is made up of rows and columns. The rows are down the left-hand side. They are numbered. The columns are across the top, and they are lettered. The intersection of a row and a column is called a cell. So as I click around in my worksheet, I'm clicking in the different cells of this worksheet. A cell is named by the column letter and the row number. Let me find there they are, my annotation tools. So this cell that I'm currently in, I would be named C3. That's how I would name that cell. It's the column letter and the row number. I can select several cells at a time, and that is called a range. And I'm going to say Excel all day, in Sheets and Excel. They're both named a range. And to name a range, we use the upper left cell. In this case, it's B2, and the lower right cell. In this case, it's C6. That's how I would describe that range to you, B2 to C6. And you would understand that I meant to select that entire range of cells. It does not matter if you use capitals or lowercase. So this B2 to C6 means exactly the same as the uppercase B2 to C6. Excel recognizes no difference in those. We can see, let me get rid of all of those things and go back here. We can see there are a couple different types of data in this very simple worksheet. We have the listing here of all of the things that our fundraiser is selling in column A. These are all text values. You see, as I click through these, it shows me what's in the cell. It's also showing me here in the formula bar. Let me find this is my formula bar. Oh, that's a horrible color, brown. Let me get a different color. Let's find red. This is my formula bar. The formula bar shows me the underlying data of a cell. So with text data, it's pretty straightforward. This is showing me hand sanitizer in cell A6. It's also showing me hand sanitizer in the formula bar. If I go down to cell A7, this is a little different because the formatting that my eyes see, the word totals is in bold, but in the formula bar, it is not in bold. Excel doesn't care if something is bold or red or purple. So what Excel sees, a way to look at it, is what Excel sees is what is in the formula bar. whereas what our eyes see are what is in the cell, right? So the cell is formatted to make it obvious to us that this is important. If I click in the values in column B, you'll notice that these have dollar signs. They have been formatted as currency, but in the formula bar, Excel just sees that as 12. Excel doesn't care that it's $12. It just looks like 12 to Excel. And down column C, just plain numbers there. Right, so two types of data in Excel, the text data and the number data. This is the number data. I don't think I pointed that out before, but pretty obvious because it's numbers. So I'm going to clear that and back to this. Excel could be used for lots of different things. You can keep data in Excel, right? You can keep lists of data, you can keep addresses and all sorts of information about people or things or items. But Excel also can do formulas for you. You can keep mathematical functions in Excel. You can keep budgets. You can keep really complex things in Excel. And Excel can do all of those calculations for you. This example we're looking at here, we can see is lending itself to doing some math, right? We have tote bags. They cost $15. There are 27 of them. How much money did we make off of the tote bags, right? So you don't have to do this math separately. You don't have to get a calculator. You don't have to figure it out somewhere else and move it into this. Excel can do all of that math for you. Excel can do the simple math. Excel can do very, very complex math. We're going to start out today, obviously, with some simple math. We're going to talk about some simple formulas and functions. Excel uses the standard math. Yeah.
Just because it might confuse people later, you do keep saying Excel.
Oh, I knew I was going to do that. Yes, thank you, Jen. I do keep saying Excel, and I knew I was going to because I have taught Excel for 20 some years, and we are just now switching over to teaching Sheets. So yes, I'm sorry. I am talking about Sheets, and I am working in Sheets today. Thank you, Jen. All right, so where was I? Formulas, common mathematical formulas in Excel. Sheets, sorry, Sheets. The operators you use in Sheets and Excel are the standard operators, the plus sign, if you want to add stuff, minus, the asterisk, which is Shift A, that is your multiplication, and the slash, that is division. So these mathematical operators, standard in Sheets and Excel. In Sheets, when you begin to write a formula so that Sheets can recognize it as a formula instead of text, you always start this with an equal sign. This is the indicator to Sheets that you are going to do some math or you're going to do something besides just write text. So everything begins, every formula, every function begins with the equal sign. So let's see how to, oh, I forgot to turn off my annotations. There we go. Let's see how to create the formula that will do this math for us and figure out how much money we made on tote bags. Again, all formulas start. Oh, I can see those. Okay, so we have a question that we're doing this in the formula bar. You can, but no, I am actually in cell D2. And I'm going with this cell active. I can see it's active. It's got the blue outline around it. With that active, I can begin typing, and everything I type is going to go into that active cell. So I can type my equal sign. And Sheets is really very intuitive, and it will start trying to fill things in for you. Excel does this as well, but I have to tell you, I think Sheets does a better job of it. So we're going to type the formula here. Now we could type 15 times 27. and we would get the right answer. But the real power of sheets comes when we use cell references and not the contents of the cell. So instead of typing, we could type equal sign 15 times 27. And that would give me the correct answer, 15 times 27. But you get more for your buck in sheets if you use cell references. So instead of 15 times 27, we say B2 times C2. What this does is Excel goes back to cell B2 and multiplies it by whatever is in, not Excel, sorry, Sheets, multiplies it by whatever is in cell C2. And that way, if those things change, if you say, oh, wait a minute, I didn't sell 27 tote bags, I sold 37 tote bags, I don't have to go in and change my formula. My formula will update on its own. So I'm back here in D2 and I'm going to type equal sign B2 asterisk 4 times C2. Now what Sheets has done, and it may be difficult to see because it's so very, very faint on my screen, but it has outlined B2 in kind of a goldish yellow orange, and it has turned that B2 that same color. So that gives my eye a way to see, oh, B2, that's exactly what I wanted. And then C2, it is put in this really faint purple. Again, maybe really hard to see through your screen, but it is there. And what Sheets does that Excel doesn't do is it shows you the answer right there. I haven't even hit enter yet, and it's already showing me the answer. When I hit enter, that answer appears in cell D2, right? So we can do the same thing. Now the answer's in D2, but my active cell is D3. So I can put in my equal sign B3 times C3 and enter. And there is my answer. I made $456 on coffee cups. Not too bad. So Sheets gives us a way, instead of typing that very similar formula all the way down, we have, 5 items here, so we could do that. It's not undoable, but if you had a worksheet that had several hundred or several thousand items here that you had to calculate, you wouldn't want to type that every time. So in Sheets, I can move back up here to D3, and if I put my cursor right on that dark square, that blue square, my cursor turns to that black crosshairs, and I can press and drag down, and it will copy that formula down for me. That may take a little bit of practice if you're new to Sheets. If you're new to Sheets and you've been working in Excel, the selecting can be a little different in Sheets. It still works, but it's got a different feel to it. So if I look at this, if I click in cell D4, and then I look here at my formula bar, when I copied that, it automatically adjusted to B4 times C4. Yes, that does work in Excel as well. It works just the same in Excel. It looks slightly different because the crosshairs in Excel is smaller than in Sheets, but it works exactly the same way. And as I go down column D, you can see in my formula bar that it automatically adjusted those row numbers for me. That is what we refer to as relative cell addresses. So the cell address is relative to the row that it's in. Sheets and Excel both are smart enough to say, oh, well, if you copied that from row 3 to row 4, you probably want to refer to the cells in row 4 and not back up to row 3. And most of the time you do. Most of the time that's exactly what you want it to do, right? So I've got all of my item sales in here. And we've got some more math we could do on this worksheet. Maybe we need to know how many things we sold over the course of a day or a week or however long this fundraiser went on. So we can click in cell C7, right? And we could type, hold on, I'm going to clear all of this out and get a new one. We could type equal sign C2 plus C3 plus C4 plus C5 plus C6, right? We could type that and we would get the correct answer. But the more you type, whenever my colleague Jason here is assisting today, and he always says, the more you type, the more room you have for error. So if you can get Excel to do something, or sorry, Sheets, if you can get Sheets to do something with less typing on your part, the less chance you have to make a mistake in your typing and to make a mistake in your formula, right? So although this would work, Sheets has some built-in ways to have us not have to type that much. So if I go back to cell C7, I still start with the equal sign, and see, look what Sheets does. It is so smart. All I have to type is equal, and it starts suggesting what I should put here. And what Sheets has suggested is the sum function. So the sum function is exactly what it sounds like. It adds things up. It gives you the sum. So you type the function, in this case sum, starting with the left parenthesis, and then you put in the range of cells that you want Sheets to add up for you. In this case, it's C2 to C6. C2 colon C6. And you add your second parenthesis. And you press enter, and you have the answer of 148. Right, I typed that in, but you saw that Excel was prompting me and saying, hey, this looks like, no, not Excel, sorry, Sheets was prompting me and saying, hey, looks like you should add those up. That makes a lot of sense right here. So we could take the advice from Sheets and just click on its suggestion, and it would have popped that in there for us. Right, same thing here with the item sales in D7. If I type, here, let me get rid of that. If I type the equal sign, then Sheets pops up and says, oh, do you want to add these up or do you want to do the average? I want to add these up, so I'm going to click on the suggestion that Sheets is giving me and press enter. Right, so we sold 148 things and we made $1,155. That all works in Excel as well. Excel also will pop up those suggestions for you that you can click on and work through that way with even less typing. Right, so those are two examples of the sum function. We're going to look at a couple other functions that are helpful, some commonly used function. I'm going to go over here to column G. I'm going to click in cell G2. And column F is labeled min price. So for whatever reason, I want to know what the cheapest thing that I sell is. Now again, this is a simple example. So I can look and I can say, oh, look, headphones and hand sanitizer are $2. But if I had several hundred rows or even rows that went off of the page, even if it wasn't several hundred, even if it was 80 rows, it wouldn't be that easy. So there is a function that can tell you the minimum of anything. In this case, it's the price. So in cell G2, I'm going to type the equal sign, and I'm going to begin by typing the function name min. As I type, Sheets brings up all sorts of functions that might be what I'm looking for. In this case, it's min. And I want to find the min price, the smallest price of B2 to B6. And press enter, and it tells me $2 is my min price. Right? It works exactly the same as in Excel, the min function does. I can do the max function in cell C3. If I begin with that equal sign and type max, I can type, and my parenthesis, and I finding the max price. So it's the exact same cell range, B2 to B6. And the highest price item that I sell is $15, right? So we've seen the sum function, the max price, and the min price. The next one we're going to look at is the average price. So again, I'm in cell G4. I start with the equal sign and I begin typing average. And as I type, it brings up some possibilities. I'm going to do average. Now, I don't have to type those cell references. If it's difficult, if I'm looking at a large range and it's hard to know exactly which cell begins and which cell ends that range, I can press and drag them with my mouse, and it fills them in my formula. Again, another, depending on your typing skills, that may be another way to reduce error. Put in that second parenthesis and press enter. So you may notice that the prices over here in column G are automatically getting the dollar signs associated with them. It's because it's pulling from over here in column B where I applied the dollar signs. I formatted column B as currency, and it's taking that formatting with it as it brings it over here to column G. So that's not Sheets being smart about this same price or anything. That's because of the formatting that was applied in column B. All right, everybody good? It's so odd to talk and not see people's faces. All right, so we have seen the min function, the max, the average, and the sum. We're going to add a new column here, or actually we're not going to add it, we're going to label it. We're going to do a new calculation. We're going to put a column in here in column E, and we are going to name this column donation. So I went to cell E1 and I typed donation. I pressed enter. There it is. It looks a little different because it's not formatted in bold. So I'm going to go back up there to E1, and I'm going to here on my toolbar click the bold button just so it matches. And we're going to say that this was a fundraiser sale, and for everything that we sell, we're going to donate 25% of this to something. You can pick your favorite cause. So we're going to donate 25%. We want to put this column in here and figure out how much our donations are for each item. So we could type this in here and type equal sign. We could type equal sign D2 times 0.25, right? And that would work, right? We would get 25% of the value in D2. But as always, there is a way in Sheets and Excel to make this a little simpler and to make it so that if something changes, what if you have a really good day and you say, you know what, we're going to donate 35% of our sales. If I typed this in this way, I would have to redo all of these formulas. If I put the 25% in as a value of a cell and then use the cell reference, all I have to do is change one thing and all of my values will update to represent that. So I'm going to put my donation amount in cell J2. J2 is just random. This could go really anywhere that didn't already have a value. I could put it somewhere where I can't see it. I could, if I wanted to, put it on a different workbook. But for our purposes today, we are going to put the donation percentage in J2. So in J2, I'm going to type 0.25 for 25%. And there it is. All right, where am I going? Okay, so I'm going to go back to E2, and I want to calculate what the 25% of each of these items is. So I'm going to begin with my equal sign, and I'm going to use cell references, not the cell contents. So D2 times J2. And again, you can see that Excel, or not Excel, Sheets is highlighting those and color coding them to give me an idea of which cells I'm working with. And I can press enter, and I see that I sold enough tote bags to donate $101 to the cause of my choice, right? So earlier, we copied down column D. Remember, we put in the formula to create the total sales, and we used this crosshairs cursor to press and drag that down. I'm going to show you this, and I'm going to warn you if you're working on your own along with me that this is not going to work, right? And I'm showing you that on purpose so that you will know why it doesn't work. So I'm going to press and drag this down, and I get nothing. Right? Does anybody have a guess? Anybody in the chat have a guess as to what happened there? Nope, I can't tell if anybody's typing frantically. Nope. All right, I'll tell you then. So if you look at my formula bar, this in E2 is D2 times J7. And as I go down, it became D3 times J3. We'll look at J3, it is empty. J3 is empty. And as I continue going down, it continues to move that reference to column J's down a row, right? That was what we called relative cell addresses. And it worked here. It worked in column D because we wanted it to go down each time, right? We wanted this to go from B3 times C3 to B4 times C4. What has happened here in column E is we have D2 times J2. Well, we want it to be D3, but we do not want it to be J3, right? J3 doesn't have anything in it. So what we need to do in our original formula here in cell E2 is we need to make that reference to J2 absolute, right? So as we move down column E, it's not going to change. It's going to stay J2. It's called an absolute cell reference. So it's not a very intuitive way to do this, but it is the way in both Sheets and Excel. It's exactly the same. We have to add dollar signs to that reference. So it would be $J, $2. Right? I'll type this a little bigger. It ends up being equal sign D2 times $J, $2. And then here in E2, we hit enter, and there's no difference, right? E2 didn't change at all. It's still 101. But as we copy that down, column E, it works. So if I look at my original, D2 times $J, $2, D3 times $J, $2, and so forth. That absolute cell reference means that that cell reference does not change no matter where we copy this formula into our worksheet, right? It sticks. Yes, good question. The $sign is just a code to make that absolute. It has nothing to do with money. Yeah, like I said, it's not very intuitive, but luckily for us, it works exactly the same in Sheets and Excel. They use the same code for that. right? So you can put a value there and it sticks. What if we say, oh, you know what? We had a really great year. I'm going to donate 40%. So I go over here to J2, I change that to 40%. I press enter. All of those values changed, right? If I had not used a cell reference, I would have had to go through each of these and adjust that 25% to 40 individually. This works as well. What if I say, oh, I didn't sell, oh, how do you display as a percentage? Okay, so Jason is reminding me to show you that here in J2, I typed it in percentage as like a mathematical 0.4. There is a button on my toolbar. Here, there's the dollar signs for currency, and then there's the percent sign. See, but there it goes. It puts all those extra zeros in, but that's okay. It still means 40%. If I click that button, it formats the selected cell as a percentage. Yeah, which is maybe easier on your eyes. You can get rid of those extra zeros. Again, on the toolbar right there next to that percent button, there's this button that says decrease decimal places, and I can take those out so that my eyes aren't overwhelmed by zeros. All right. I can change any of this. What if I decide I didn't sell 16 phone chargers, I sold 56 phone chargers, and I change that and press enter. My sales for the phone chargers changed, my donation for the phone chargers changed, my total sales changed, my total number sold changed. Everything adjusts automatically because we used cell references in our formulas instead of the values that are in the cells. All right, I'm going to clear all of the stuff that I have on here, and we're going to talk about another way to make an absolute cell reference. The $J$2 gets the job done, but in both Sheets and in Excel, you have the option to name a range. So you can give a range of cells, and a range of cells in this case could be a single cell. Doesn't have to be a long range. You can give any of those ranges or individual cells a name that means something to you or to your group. So if I want to give, let's see, how am I going to start this? Oh, I'm going to start this by clearing all the values in column E. So I'm going to select those. This is something I have to say, if you are used to working in Excel, works slightly differently in Sheets, how you select cells. In Excel, you get the hand when you want to select. In Sheets, you get the hand to move, right? So we press and drag that down, but you need the arrow in Sheets. So we're going to select all of that. We're going to press delete. And I'm going to put this donation formula in using a named range. Named range is another way of making an absolute reference. So I'm going to begin by naming this range. I'm going to come back over here to J2, and I'm going to go to my data tab, and I'm going to click named ranges. And I get this named ranges panel here. It's always asking me in Sheets if I want to explore how to do things. I'm not going to do that today. I'm going to click here where it says add a range. And it's here, it automatically names this named range 1, which is not what I want to call it because named range 1 is not helpful at all, right? You could have 50 things, and how are you going to know what named range 38 is versus named range 22? So we're going to give this a name that means something to us. I'm going to call this donation amount, right? And you can see here, it's telling me that it is looking at fundraiser sales, exclamation J2. This is the Sheets way of telling me it is in this fundraiser sales worksheet, and cell J2. this is the same in Excel. It shows this to you the same way. So I am going to name cell J2 donation amount. I'm going to click done. And now here is my named range. I could add another one if I wanted to, but this is the one I have, right? So I'm going to go back over here to E2, and I'm going to begin my formula again with equal sign D2 times. Now I could type in $J $2, but donation amount as a named range also serves as an absolute cell reference. So I can begin typing donation amount, and as soon as I get to DON, here it is. Sheet says, hey, do you mean donation amount? And I can say I do, and click that and press enter. And there is my donation for the tote bags. But now, when I copy that down, it works. And look at my formula bar. In Sheets, it sees that named range as an absolute cell reference. So it does not adjust that down at all. Right, so named ranges can be used for lots of things. They can be used to serve as absolute cell references if you don't want to deal with the dollar signs. Named ranges can be used just to make things a little more clear. So you can see in my formula bar there, it's telling me D2 times donation amount. Well, that's a little more clear for yourself, or if you're sharing a worksheet with somebody, you're sending it to somebody, you use named ranges instead of cell references. And then the formulas are built with things maybe that make a little more sense to human brains instead of Google Sheets or Microsoft Excel brains, right? All right, where am I? I have my papers here. I have all of this in my box folder, and then today the box folder quit loading and I was in a total panic at about noon today, so I
Yeah,
printed it off.
yeah. I saw that too. I copied it into Word because I was like, I'm never gonna be able to see this.
I was in a total panic. I called Jason. I was like, my outline isn't loading. I don't know what I'm gonna do. And Jason talked me down from my panic, and then it loaded. And so, but I do have it printed out here. I just have to keep my pages in order. All right, so questions, anybody, about absolute values or named ranges? All right, we're going to look at a very simple chart. I'm going to create a chart that shows me how much money I made. What does the, oh, that over here in the donation amount, that is the way that Sheets describes the separation between the name of the worksheet and the cell, if this is what you're talking about over here. Fundraiser sales, exclamation J2. It's telling me that it's in the fundraiser sales worksheet, cell J2. And Jen is right, Excel uses the exact same symbol, so that would look the same in Excel as it does in Sheets. So I hope that answered that. All right, so I'm going to create a chart that shows me the items I sold and how much I sold for each item. To do this, I'm going to select the items in column A, just the items. I'm not going to select the word item or the word totals. And to select non-contiguous data in Sheets and in Excel, you hold down the Control key on your keyboard. You can't see me do that, but I'm holding down the Control key on my keyboard, and I'm selecting the amounts in column D. All right, so select column A, hold down the Control key as you press and drag column D. And that gives me, sorry, I have to move my annotation toolbar. That lets me select things that aren't next to each other in Excel. And I'm going to add a chart here. So I'm going to go to my Insert menu, Insert Chart. It has to think about it for just long enough to make me think it's not working. And it defaults by inserting this column chart. You can see I have all these options over here for charts in this chart editor panel. And I can easily change this column chart to a pie chart. right? And all of this stuff here is how I can customize this chart. I can change how it's laid out. I can change the type of chart. I can change, you can see here, my data range if I wanted to show something different in this chart. If you have worked in charts in Excel, it's my opinion that they are easier in Sheets. And the thing I really, really like about charts in Sheets versus Excel is if I click on any of these parts of my chart, that's the part that comes up in this chart editor. I don't have to dig around and find the part where I can modify the colors. All I have to do is click on one of those and I can change the color. Probably don't want to change it to that because that looks pretty bad, but I can do that. If I click on the title, I get the options for the chart titles. If I click on any of the data tags, I get the options for the legend. Right? That is much more intuitive to me than the charts in Excel. Charts in Excel aren't difficult. You create them exactly the same way. You select the data you want included, you go to the Insert tab, and you choose Chart. And it's there. But charts in Excel, you do have to sort of dig through this formatting menu, whereas in Sheets, it pops it right up there when you click on it, which is nice. I will show you, there is this button right here, these 3 dots. We had this conversation with our colleagues today about what these 3 dots were called. And I will tell you that officially they are called more vertical, which makes no sense at all. So we're just going to call them the 3 dots or the more button. So we click those 3 dots, we get some options here about deleting the chart, downloading the chart as a picture or a PDF, copying the charts, and all these things. The one I'm pointing out today is alt text. So alt text is alternative text. This is the text that will be read by a screen reader. So if you have someone with a visual disability and they use a screen reader to read whatever you produce, your web page or your documents, when that screen reader encounters a graphic, it doesn't know what to do unless the creator of that document tells the screen reader what to say here. So that's called alternative text. And when you create anything, or I can tell you when we create things at IU, we are required to put alt text in everything we create now, right? So we have started teaching other people how to do this. On the chance that you should be doing it and you don't know how to do it, or on the chance that in the next few months somebody comes to you and says, oh, hey, you need to be adding alt text, you will have an idea of how to do it. Because everything we produce for IU now has to include alt text for every image that we use. So when we put in alt text, we describe what you're seeing. If it's a button or something that has an official name, you use that. You would say, you know, the bold button if you were describing an image of the bold button. But for something like this chart, you would describe it as if you were talking to someone over the phone, right? I won't spend time typing all of it out today, but you would say something like, you know, a pie chart showing the item sales. You don't have to repeat all the values if those values are already available to somebody with a screen reader. So since our values are up here, we would not have to repeat them down here. Right, so anyway, that's alt text. If you are being called upon to use alt text, it's very simple to use in Google Sheets. It's right there on that menu. But I'm going to click cancel for now. And to deselect all of this selected text, I'm just going to click in a blank cell. And I'm done with that first example, and we do not have a whole lot of time left. All right, I'm going to move on to my next worksheet, summer reading. I'm going to close this named ranges panel here because I don't need it for this. What I have here is a completely fictionalized account of a summer reading program. a fairly small, I'm sure, summer reading program in your experiences. I have names, library card numbers, the branch this person uses, their school and grade, and then some numbers about how many books they read, programs they attended. Oh, sorry, you can hear my dog. I think the UPS person is out there. Oh no, it's the FedEx person. Not good. Okay, well, you may hear lots of my dog here in a moment. It's okay, Jonah, if she barks. My 10-year-old is frantically trying to keep her from seeing the FedEx truck out the window. Okay, so where was I? Okay, so the numbers of the books read and the programs attended, things like that. When working with this type of data, this isn't data that's lending itself automatically to math, right? We may want to calculate an average number of books read, or we may want to add up, you know, how many people attended programs overall over the course of the summer. But there's a lot more going on here, and there's a lot more information here for us than just those types of things that are related to the numbers. We can sort this. If you look at this, you can see that this data is not in any sort of order that makes sense. This is not in alphabetical order by last name. This is not in order by library card number. This is not in order by school or grade or t-shirt size, right? Nothing about this makes sense. Maybe as these students came in and signed up, this worksheet was open at the computer, and you know, library staff just entered the students' names as they came in, right? So first thing you may want to do with this is you may want to organize this in a better way. Maybe we want to organize this by last name so that we can keep track of these students a little better. Now, this is a difference in Sheets and Excel. When you start sorting in Excel, it always asks you if your data has a header row. The header row is what we have here in row 1, right? Like the column headers. Excel always asks you if there's a header row. Sheets does not do that. What you have to do in Sheets is you have to freeze that first row. And if that row is frozen, Sheets will recognize it as a header row. So the first thing before we start filtering or before we start sorting is we want to freeze that first row. And we do this by going to the View tab or the View menu and then point at Freeze. And we want to freeze one row. And we sort of get this darker line there. And now as we scroll, that row stays, which is also pretty handy. So that you don't have to remember which column is books, programs, or puzzles, right? But freezing that row tells Sheets that this is the header row, and it will then not include this row in any kind of sorting that we do or any kind of filtering that we do. So we're going to sort by last name. To do this, we're going to click here in column B. We're going to click the B of column B up here in this header. When you click any of those headers, it selects the entire column. It works the same for rows. If I click any of those row headers, it selects the entire row, right? But we want this column B. We're going to select column B, and then we're going to go up to the data menu, and then we're going to sort the sheet by column B. Now you notice we have sort sheet and sort range. This is an important distinction. If you sort the sheet, it's going to put the whole sheet in order A to Z by last name. So everything here with Peter Hughes is going to stay. His library card number, oh, go away, add-ons. His card issue date, like that will all stay with him if we sort the sheet by B. If we sort the range, it's going to sort what we have selected, and it's just going to those last names. And they're not going to stay with their first names. They're not going to stay with their library card numbers. Okay, so that can really mess your data up, sorting by range. So I'm going to sort the sheet by column B, A to Z. And now my names are sorted in alphabetical order by last name. Right? And I hate to say it, but we're about out of time because I need to show you how to get to all of this on your own. And I will talk to Megan about coming back again to do the second half of this. Megan and I will discuss, because that was about maybe a little over 2/3 of what I had planned for today. Does anybody have any questions? We have anything? Okay, I'm going to stop this share and start a new share. Where am I going? Here we go. Oh. I want to show you a couple of things. This is us. This is IT training at IU. And I want to let you know that everything that we have, all of our online courses that we teach through IT training, we start with basics, like what we started with today. This was an example of a basics class that we teach. We do this all the way through more advanced things. We have courses on here that cover web design. We have courses about audio production, Microsoft Access, PowerPoint, Word, creating accessible documents. All of this is on this page right here. Oh, actually, that's not that page, because that was the test page. This page right here. No, I'm still in the wrong place. This page. All right. So you can come to this ittraining.iu.edu. You can register for any of our classes. They are all self-paced, they are all online, and they are all free. They don't cost any money. They don't cost for you, they don't cost for your patrons. And we have been approved by the state library. We are on the pre-approved list for TLEUs. So you can take our courses, you get a certificate you can print off to prove completion. I am also going to show you that we are doing more of these webinars, not just for your group, not just for ILF, but for different groups around the state, and including IU staff. We are all working at home, just as most of you are, and we are offering these short webinars. This is at, where are they? That is not the one I wanted. Oh, Megan has them. Megan's going to put the links up.
Yeah, I will put them in the chat, and I will put them in the emails that I send after this.
Okay, so the links for the short webinars, they are 30-minute webinars that we are going to be doing starting next Tuesday. The first one, I will tell you, is pretty much exactly what you saw today. But after that, they build on Excel. We're going to do PowerPoint. We're going to do some Adobe stuff. And if you take the webinars and then you want to see more, you want to get into our online courses, our free online courses, you will have to sign up for an IU guest account. And all of the information for doing this is on this page. There is a link here with a very clear video for non-IU users about how you sign up for the IU guest account. That guest account then allows you to register for the courses through IU Expand, which is where all of our publicly available courses are. They aren't IU courses for credit. They are training courses. You will get, like I said, the certificate showing that you completed it, but you will have to create that IU guest account. But there are clear instructions for you on this page as to how to do that. And Megan, again, says that she has those. She put the links in the chat, but she is also going to put them up here at the end, and she's going to email them to you later so that you have all of this information. And like I said, I'll talk to Megan and see if we want to try to do the second half of this sometime soon. Any questions, or Jen or Jason, did I forget anything?
Oh,
You're muted.
I think that was it. I think we might need to do a part 2. Also, one of the people who was with us today, Joan, mentioned that we might want to change the length of the webinars to 35 minutes because that changes that they may count as an LEU.
so yeah.
So something to think
Ellie,
about.
yeah. So just so you know, ILF offers all of their sessions at 50 minutes, and that's 1 LEU. 35 minutes is the minimum for an LEU. And then if you do a 90-minute, then that's 2 LEUs. So
Okay, great.
A lot of quick LEU math that we could probably do in a spreadsheet if we had the right formula.
Yes, exactly. April could set that up right now.
Exactly. So, well, thank you so much, April. That was a lot of really good information, and it just pointed out that I'm not using sheets to the capacity that I can be. So I will be going back for sure and seeing what else I can do. I put the helpful links up on the screen, and I put them in the chat, and I will be following up, if not this afternoon, tomorrow morning with TLEU certificates and these links again, so that you can start working on the spreadsheet yourself and do some of those other professional development opportunities. We will also make the recording available to you all so that, like me, if you need to rewatch it and walk through it with April again, we can absolutely do that. And then she and I will talk about scheduling a part 2 if you're interested, and the rest of her session and anything that she adds in between now and then, we will absolutely do that.
I was a little over ambitious with my outline, I think. So,
no,
but
you were
better
great.
too much than too little, I guess.
Yeah, we're all doing a great job. So, okay, well, that is the end of today's webinar, and I will be in touch. And thank you so much to April and to Jason and Jen. And you guys go outside and enjoy today before the cold comes. Okay, thank you so much.